Hey, anyone of you guys want a shot of spotchka?
I am craving something blue to drink, but I'll just take some of that blue milk.
I guess every once in a while, two suns shine on a womp rat's tail.
All right, you're done. We're cutting you off. Welcome in to the Bro 4 Squad podcast, where we're just a bunch of bros drinking beer and watching TV and movies. This is our review of The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1, entitled The Marshal. I am your host, the Mayor Jeff Hornacek. Thank you guys so much for checking us out and joining me today, as they did, I believe, all of last season, to review this TV episode on our 4 Squad. Criteria is Nate, the American hero Thurmond, and Brian the Mad Scientist Banner. And the 4 Squad criteria that we will be reviewing this TV episode on are the cast, the story, our favorite scene, and any theories going forward. Now, Nate, we will start with you with the cast because there was an actor in this episode that I know you get a TV/movie boner for every time he pops up in something.
Yeah, obviously this was kind of like the big reveal for this episode, and the way they did it was obviously great, which I know we'll get into later. But yeah, good old Timothy Oliphant was in this one, or as my wife likes to call him, Elephant. But yeah, I mean, he's just
Elephant, or does she call him Timothy Elephant?
Just Elephant. That's it.
He deserves a little more damn respect than that.
I mean, it's a nickname she's given him, so isn't that something?
It's true. It means you've made it.
Yeah, giving him a nice little nickname. But ever since the rumors started going around about him being in this, I mean, yeah, I started getting a little half chub going on. So I was looking forward to this for a while, and I didn't really know when he was going to be in. I didn't do any research after that, but I knew he was rumored for the cast. So it was awesome whenever he came on and voice, even before they revealed his face. I was like, hell yeah, here we go. And I think that was like a perfect casting for this role, because he does such a great job of that kind of Western role. And I mean, The Mandalorian has been dubbed the space Western recently. I don't know if it's been dubbed that specifically, but it's a Western in space.
Has been now.
It has been now the space Western. So yeah, he's fantastic, and he has that swagger that he brings to the screen, and it's really been great seeing him in this role. And it's actually fun because currently watching Fargo too, and he's in that, which is awesome. Not to
down.
Yeah, I know. What a time to be alive.
He definitely was giving me vibes of Justified, like that Western show he did on Netflix. Sure. Which is cool. And obviously the two big casting announcements for this season were him and Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tana.
Mm-hmm.
So those were kind of the two that I was waiting to see when they show up. And we got a lot of him in this episode, which was good. It wasn't just like he showed up at the end or like in a bit role. Like, if you're going to get Timothy Oliphant, let's fucking get Timothy Oliphant. And they put him in there front and center.
Yeah.
What I like about it is that they got him early, so now they can do, and I'm hoping maybe we'll get into this but where they can utilize him later on, kind of like they did with Cara Dune last season, where we met her early on, and then she came up and kind of teamed up and helped him later on in the season. If we get something like that here, I'd have such a space boner, it's not even funny.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I think that's something that will probably definitely happen, like you said.
And we'll get into it a little bit more at the end, obviously with the reveal of I mean, we all know who that was at the end, but we'll talk about it. But I kind of hope more of this season takes place on Tatooine. I feel like we jumped around a lot last season, which was fine for a little while. But I remember towards the end, we kind of wanted to get some momentum and sort of stake down the story in one locale so that things could really build momentum. I don't know if you guys knew this, but at the beginning of the episode, John Leguizamo played Gor Koresh. He was the guy who Mando tied up at the intergalactic UFC fight.
Really?
Ah, nice. I did not know that.
Did
Thank you
not
for
know
that
that.
tidbit.
And then, Banner, before I turn it over to you, one person who really bothered me in this episode, even though they weren't in it much, Amy Sedaris reappearing as Peli Motto, the one with
I
the
know.
pit droids. It's like she's trying so little to even make any line of dialogue she delivers sound authentic that I'm just like, what are you doing?
This is, I hate to even go down this route because I'm gonna give you PTSD. She's almost like when Deke came into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I didn't want him. It was just unnecessary, and the acting was atrocious.
She's just like,
Yeah, it's
she
really
does not
bad.
belong in the Star Wars universe. And she's not even in it that much. So for me to say that, it's like you really stuck out like a sore thumb. The pit droids outacted her.
Oh yeah,
Well,
for sure.
come on.
They've got
We
some
all
depth.
know that they're Oscar-nominated pit droids, though.
That's true. For
For my acting and cast, I'm going to go actually with Jon Favreau. Not because he was in it, but because the way that he directed, and I don't know who played the Sand People, so I can't actually name them names, but he had to have had a hand in how they communicated and their hand signals. And even though they're wearing these like fucking masks, I was still able to understand exactly what they were saying when they were saying it. And I think that's a testament to his direction as well as those actors responding to that. Everything with the Sand People I thought was awesome.
Yeah, that's a good point, and it's a cool dynamic. Also going back to like the Western theme, like they've got their cowboys versus Indians, and that kind of plays into that whole role. But yeah, they did a great job with the nonverbal cues and all that kind of stuff.
It's really
but they've done
hard.
great. They've done great with that, even going back to last season with Pascal, because he doesn't speak much. He doesn't have the facial cues that he can go off of, so it's all nonverbal on a lot of this stuff.
So, yeah, that's a really good point. We brought that up a lot last season because
Yeah.
obviously his his character is not allowed to take off his mask, so you have to find other ways to elicit emotion from him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, anything else? You guys ready to move on to story?
Let's move it.
So the plot synopsis, according to IMDb, is a brief one, even though it was an hour-long episode. And it says, the Mandalorian is drawn to the Outer Rim in search of others of his kind. So obviously, Mando picking up from where we left off at the end of season 1, trying to reunite Baby Yoda with the others of his kind. He's told that they are the sorcerers known as the Jedi. And that leads him back to Tatooine, where he finds Cobb Vanth, played by Timothy Olyphant, and then sort of a kind of like that Magnificent Seven episode from last season that gave us homages, where with Marshall and the Tusken Raiders to take out, was that a Sarlacc? I'm not really sure what it was. It was a giant
It was a crate
Krayt
dragon.
crate dragon. That's
Krayt,
right.
Is that what they were saying?
Yes,
No, it's
I believe so.
Krayt, however you pronounce that.
And obviously with this one, I mean, season premiere directed by the showrunner and written by him and Jon Favreau, and the production budget was like a tentpole Hollywood blockbuster film. So, Banner, what'd you think of where the story took us here to kick off season 2?
This is the most Western feeling episode ever, but I never once didn't feel like it was Star Wars at the same time. I loved the fact that I was watching a Western, but I also loved the fact that I was watching Star Wars. I thought it was awesome. How they got us back to Tatooine was cool, and they're expanding this world, which is what we all want, in giving us another former great, spaceport like Mos Eisley's. So that was really cool. And then again, just the dynamic of having basically your cowboys and Indians have to team up against a mutual enemy. That's a tale as old as time. It's awesome. I mean, you can't overdo that. And then some of the ways that they got the Tusken Raiders involved and how the nonverbal and verbal dynamics went with the having a language barrier there was all just great storytelling. Absolutely great storytelling.
I agree. I thought pacing-wise it moved really well, too, because I don't think Mando's in a much different spot than he was when the episode started, but never for 1 second did I feel like this was dragging. And again, a lot of that could be because they had some great action set pieces, but also I think this world just feels, like you said, so authentic to Star Wars and so lived in. Whereas like, some of the prequels felt like way too shiny and glossy, and like this feels like Nate was saying, like the gritty Western type corner of the Star Wars universe that we can just post up in and hang out for 55 minutes and not feel like we got overexposed or like it was kind of a retread of anything. Nate, what did you think?
Man, this is awesome. And I'm not even a huge like Star Wars nerd, like know a lot of the backstories for a lot of the things like Cobb Vanth I had to like kind of read up on and learn about. But the development of this story and where you can see it going, obviously with like the reveal at the end, and just the reveal whenever Cobb Vanth comes in, you see the armor he has, you automatically recognize that. So I think there were a ton of things in here that were like Easter eggs, but weren't like too over the top. And I think it was really well done. And like you said, Mando may be in the same spot that he is at the end of the episode that he was at the beginning, but they've laid so much groundwork going forward just from things in Tatooine. It was fantastic. But yeah, the pacing was great too. It moved along nicely. You kind of had the opening act where he kind of got the information to kind of set up the rest of the episode, and it was always moving and progressing to the next step. And like I said, obviously going back to Tatooine, there's going to be things that are connected into other films and stories from Star Wars, and those were the cool things, like the abandoned Sarlacc pit and all that kind of stuff. But overall, it was fantastic. It was one of my favorite episodes so far.
One other thing I really liked in the story, and this is something that I know the books have touched on a lot, like the ones that are both canon and now expanded universe, but seeing from Cobb Vanth's point of view, like how the rest of the Star Wars universe reacts and responds when the Empire falls is something that is so interesting to me. Like those guys who just...
I had never even thought about it prior to this.
Yeah, like what's the line he has about like a vacuum and power? Basically, like whenever someone isn't taken out of power, like other people are scrambling to assume that role that's now vacated. Mm-hmm. And those people in the town did exactly that. Like they were basically watching it on the evening news, the Death Star blow up, and like before, they even go to commercial, these dudes fucking roll into the bar and they're like, all right, we're taking over now. And he's like, but I just ordered a spinach dip. Like, okay, no, we have to leave.
Okay, well, we're under new management now, so it changed to hummus. I'm sorry. So
it's off the menu.
Yeah. You're getting hummus and you're gonna like it. That was a cool vibe. Them watching that and like, it's like us just like watching the news on TV and like the collapse of something, and that was a pretty cool dynamic on like the flashback and all that, and Vanth's backstory.
Yeah, and I know. Again, I think the book Lost Stars is the one that really chronicles like what happened when the Empire falls. But to my knowledge, we really have not seen it much at all in live action.
Mm-hmm.
All right, on to our favorite scene. Now, I'll lead off here. I really liked the galactic UFC fight in the beginning of the episode. I wish we would have stayed on that planet more because that world is so interesting to me. Like, those two dudes obviously were the guys like or the same species from Jabba's palace. The dude who's like one of his guards or whatever.
Yeah, that are fighting the pig-looking guys.
Yeah, but I always love the Star Wars underworld stuff. Like I think on one pod before we've talked about like a possible other spin-off show ideas, and the underworld of Coruscant as one that always intrigues me. Same thing, like the crooked prop betting that happens in the pig gladiator world is something like which pig throws the fight, That was I did not know this episode was going to take place primarily on Tatooine, and I'm not disappointed by it, but that opening scene was awesome. Everything he did there with Baby Yoda, his negotiating skills, I mean, that was just like a perfect setup for the episode.
Yeah, he will not die by my hands. Okay, yeah. I see where you're going with that.
And of course, we
have always said that it doesn't have to be the best scene, but it's got to set a tone. And that first scene set a tone. It told us exactly, just like how they started the first season, we know exactly how this entire season is going to go based on that scene alone.
Yeah. And then one honorable mention I had before I turn it over to you, Nate, the campfire with the Tusken Raiders, and the Tusken Raiders like basically passing their equivalent of a blunt around the circle, and him like refusing. And like Banner said, that it was funny to me at first that they were like, "Yo, drink this peyote," or whatever the hell it was, but it turned into just like a cool scene where Mando was trying to get both of these sides that had a mutual goal, even though they hated each other, to come together and do it without. Again, the Tusken Raiders, like, if they're not utilized properly, can really come across as stupid, and it worked pretty well in this episode. Nate, what was your favorite scene or scenes?
Yeah, this was a tough one. There were so many great ones in this, and I think I was just obviously so excited for it coming back. But really, Timothy Oliphant's reveal coming in as Cobb, and you just see his silhouette in that bar door as he's talking to as Mando's talking to the bartender. He says, "Well, I don't know, take a look for yourself," or whatever he says, and you turn to see Boba Fett's gear, and you're just like, oh god, here we go. And so for a split second, you're like, fuck, I don't know. I just see the armor. I'm fucking so excited, and then it kind of reveals like, oh, he's not a Mando, but like that kind of was another tone setter for like the whole thing. They're like, all right, we're gonna give you a little taste here with this armor and show you what we may have in store later. So it's kind of like a little dick tickler, and then obviously just with Oliphant and him setting that Western tension too, like the classic standoff because they're about to fight in that saloon or bar. It just drew everything. It drew a ton of things together.
I miss the days where you shared a drink with someone before you killed them. You know?
Yeah.
Just very civilized.
Yeah, let's take a whiskey. If this thing comes to blows, at least we got a drink in us before it goes down. But no, it was great. It tied in a ton of different aspects, like I said, and yeah, it was another one of those tone setters for the whole episode.
One thing I never realized because I'd never seen them side by side, but like Boba Fett's armor, especially for a quote unquote Mandalorian, is actually pretty shitty.
He's like really shitty.
The little giants when they show up to the game with like the Play It Again sports equipment compared to Mando. Mando has like the Beskar steel, and he has like a fucking catcher's chest protector, and like his rocket pack doesn't work right. It was just, but it's cool. He's like the ragtag bounty.
Yeah, he showed up to a game with the wrong sports equipment.
Yeah, he's the Soul Skaters and Mando's team X-Blade.
Oh, for sure, 100%. That's a good comparison.
Better. Bounty hunt better. Banner, what was your favorite scene?
So I love that first scene as well. That was actually going to be my best, but my second best, which is now my best, was whenever the Tusken Raiders and the village people were fucking up the dragon thing, and Mando and Cobb are just kind of standing back going, okay, what are we going to do now? All right, let's fuck them up. And they both jump on their rockets and fly and just start shooting them with everything they got, trying to drag this thing out. That was we had some action before that, but that was okay, we're fucking back. We're ready to go. Again, spared no expense on the technology and the budget to make that look absolutely phenomenal. I just like that we finally got the look, I'm a badass and I'm going in now.
Yeah, they did really well. Go ahead.
I was going to say that poor woolly mammoth type thing that had to be
sacrificed. Yeah.
The Banta.
Yeah. They did a really good job in that scene, playing with the crate dragon, like how he was attacking the Tusken Raiders and Mando and Vanth, like coming out and then coming out through the top and then coming out from the backside. Just a new element of like surprise. You're like, where the fuck is this thing going to come from next? But yeah, that was probably the best action-packed scene of the whole episode.
I felt bad for the Tusken Raiders that drew the short end of the stick, whose job was to like lure him out. The whole time, like, get closer to the cave, and they're like, I feel like I'm gonna die. Like, you'll be fine.
Oh, this thing that can swallow this woolly mammoth whole. Oh, okay, yeah. I should be good then.
And we're waking it up from a nap, so it's already going to be pissed off.
They gave him spears, guys. What more could they ask for?
Yeah.
Crate Dragon's like, I work the graveyard shift, so I have to sleep during the day, and you guys fucking come here now and try and mess with me? Like, I'm trying to put food on my table for my kids. You know, he lost them in the divorce, so he's trying to put up a good front.
It's a whole custody battle, I know.
Well, and in this economy, how do they expect him to get a good job?
Yeah. And all he makes for public credits, which, as we all know, are no good out here. Kind of got fucked there.
He does like the sand, though, which is odd.
We just incorporated everything we know about Tatooine from the previous 9 Star Wars movies. All right, anything else before we move on to my favorite part, which is theories or questions going forward?
I think I'm good on that. Yeah.
All right, theories or questions. I think obviously at the end, Boba Fett shows up, played by, let me look it up, Tamura Morrison, who of course played Jango Fett in the prequels, and Boba obviously is a clone of him. So we're assuming that Cobb Vanth had his armor. I had a couple questions, but the first one is that abandoned Sarlacc pit that they go to. Do you think that's the one that Jabba brought Boba Fett and Luke to in Jedi?
It has to be.
I mean, you would think so, especially if Boba Fett was hanging out around and like saw them kill that thing, right?
Yeah.
Because he obviously fell in there at the end of Return, so if he's still hanging out because he doesn't have his armor because Jawas took it, it's all geographically, it makes sense that that's where Cobb would run into them and get the armor and blah blah blah.
So in the in one of the books, and again, a lot of the books are now expanded universe and not canon. Pablo Hidalgo like has the official list of what is canon, but Brian, I don't know if you remember, I didn't read it, but I do remember hearing about how Boba Fett survived in the books. He like resorted to cannibalism inside of the Sarlacc and then eventually got out. Do you think they will deviate from that I guess device of him surviving, or do you think they'll write a whole new one? Do you think they'll keep it?
I don't know, honestly. I have no idea whether they're going to keep it or not. Unfortunately, like you, I'm not as well versed in that, so I can't attest to exactly how it how he survives in the book and kind of how hard that would be to translate to the big screen. I imagine they've done a fairly good job up to this point of they're not directly going with what a expanded, I think they're calling it Legends series now.
Yeah, that sounds right.
When they're kind of referencing something that comes from the Legends, but don't necessarily use it, they do a good job of kind of intermixing new and what's included in that. So not to just shit on all the fans that like the books and like where they went with that, but they can still put a new twist on it. So I bet there's going to be a little bit of both.
And then one other question I had. So Jango Fett, Boba's dad, was he a Mandalorian, or did he and Boba just steal their armor from a Mandalorian? Because if Jango and Boba are Mandalorians, the Guild would not be pleased with how cavalier they are just walking around with their fucking helmets off, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I got a theory on this.
Perfect.
Let's hear it.
Jango at one point was a Mandalorian. You know, we know that a Mandalorian is a creed, it's a religion. He at one point was. During his bounty hunting or, you know, his escapades or whatever you want to call them, he came across this opportunity to clone himself and he took it. In order to do that, he had to remove his helmet, which means he is now dishonored and banished from the Mandalorian culture and creed because he removed his helmet in front of people. With that being said, that's how he has the armor and why Boba Fett's armor looks so fucked up, because remember in the first season when Mando goes down and he upgrades his armor and that chick like roasted over the little fire like it's a fucking marshmallow? Mm-hmm. Boba Fett couldn't go do that because they have been banished from the Mandalorian culture. Mm-hmm. That's why his looks all fucked up compared to Mando's. It's just not well maintained.
That makes perfect sense. So Jango basically sold out on Camino. You know,
yes.
He saw the paycheck, and as a result, he said, "Yeah, I'd rather do this than."
Yeah, I don't blame him.
I'll just be a freelance bounty hunter.
Yeah,
I don't blame him. Makes perfect sense. I love that.
Yeah,
that's all I had. How about you guys?
Yeah, I just had a few things to touch on, kind of things to look forward in the future, and then just a few thoughts on what might happen. Obviously, we kind of touched on it earlier, but I do think Cobb Vanth will be like last season with, I know Banner just mentioned it. I can't remember her name. Yeah, he'll make a resurgence. They'll team up again. I think
but with much better acting.
Yes, I think he's just too big of a role already, just in that first episode, that they're gonna be able to kind of cast him aside. So I don't know if it's going to be back on Tatooine or if it's going to be in another world somewhere else. But yeah, he's definitely going to come back in some form, in my opinion. And then one of the other things, I don't even know if this is a theory, but just something to look for in the upcoming episodes. Actually, Horns, in your favorite scene whenever they're at the intergalactic UFC fight, right before Mando shoots out the little rockets that kill everyone real quick. Mm-hmm. Baby Yoda like realizes what's going on. He like shuts himself in the shell real quick. I think him and Mando are like getting a feel for each other, and like Baby Yoda's powers are kind of making him sense things a little better than he had. Yeah. And so there's some dynamic there because he shuts the shell real quick. He's like, oh shit, things are about to go down. He kind of like senses what Mando's about to do. So I think there may be some of that more going forward, like almost them kind of feeling each other telepathically. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting little tidbit from that scene that may have something more going forward.
Yeah, and I wanted to get a Baby Yoda theory, but it's just too early in the season for me to. I mean, we have nothing to work with.
Put in your back pocket. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, there's so many other threads out there, like Moff Gideon and the Darksaber, and we know Ahsoka's coming, and the Guild is looking for him. So there's a lot, like you said, Nate, a lot going on. They could go a lot of different ways, and they all interest me.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Banner, what do you got cooking up?
The only thing that hasn't been mentioned yet, and I don't even know if this is a thing. I'm probably reading too much into it. I just felt like they like panned over it and paused on it too long for it not to be explained. But that like egg thing or like globe thing that the pearl or whatever it was that the Tusken Raiders dug out of the Krayt Dragon. What is that? Why is it such a big deal? And is it coming back? So, is it an egg? Is it like some sort of delicacy to them?
It's I can touch on that a little bit just because I did a little research. I had no idea before, but I bet it's going to play a bigger role. But it's apparently a Krayt Dragon Pearl is what they call it, I think. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. It's valuable, and I think like its biggest value is like showing you killed a Krayt Dragon, and so that's where its value comes from because you obviously dominated this huge fucking beast. I bet it's going to come back later on. I definitely agree, and hopefully a little more explanation. See if it like plays a role in like value of like trading or bartering or something like that. But I think that's like its biggest value is like it's showing you killed a Krayt Dragon.
Mm. Also, because it was intact and not popped, it meant the Krayt Dragon was a virgin.
Yes.
Makes so much more sense now.
I was
hoping it was going to be an egg. And the value in it was the Sand people were going to hatch the egg, and now they have a Krayt Dragon that's like their baby.
How to train a Krayt Dragon.
Then they take that, and now Timothy Olyphant, maybe Boba Fett, and Mando all have to defend the town against the Krayt Dragon that they trained.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool. Now,
I don't think it's going to happen.
Dual purpose. It could be a pearl egg. I don't know.
Or maybe somehow Mando goes, hey, Tusken Raiders, I need that little Krayt baby that you guys got.
Yeah, I don't know if the Tuskens would turn that quick. I hope not.
Yeah, we had a good thing going here, man. That was interesting, but Banner, you're right. They did kind of linger on that shot.
Yeah, like it wasn't enough to be like, oh, whoa, that's something. But it also wasn't like quick enough to just be something that was in the background either.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder if the people of the town know what it is, because if they did, they probably wouldn't have just given it to the Tusken Raiders.
I would assume they don't, because they had talked about how the Sand people have been studying these people for studying these things for billions and billions of years, and like they knew its like feeding cycle and sleeping cycle and all that shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were big fanboys.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? I mean, great start to the season, obviously. Do we know how many episodes we're getting? Like 9 again?
Sure.
I wish I would have had
We're getting at
least
I could look that up one more.
We are getting 8 episodes. Just looked it up.
8 more episodes or 8 total episodes?
8 total, so 7 more.
Okay.
Yeah, overall I'm really excited to see where they touch on Baby Yoda's ancestry and his lineage, because obviously that's kind of the Mando's like biggest mission right now is like trying to get him back to where he belongs. So there really wasn't anything touched on in this episode, but that's obviously the biggest thread from last season that has kept my interest to see where his lineage is.
Yeah, and as far as we know in the Star Wars universe, at this time, chronologically, there should only be, Banner, correct me if I'm wrong, but one living Jedi in Luke, right? Because Leia has probably not been trained yet, right? I mean,
I would say there is one known living Jedi.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if there is another Jedi or extremely Force sensitive, untrained Force sensitive person out there somewhere that we may encounter at some point.
Well, I mean, if you're going off of that, then I mean, Rey's out there.
Is she born yet?
Yeah, I think she's supposed to be like a toddler. She's like 4 or 5. I think we talked about this last season. I think because of the timeline we looked at, I think she's like, somewhere between 3, 4, and 5.
And obviously Ahsoka, but Ahsoka's whole thing is she's kind of like an anti-hero. She doesn't really...
Yeah, her whole... Like, she's not a Jedi anymore.
Yeah, and she's very insistent upon that.
Yes. Which I hope it comes up and is explained in more depth as a live-action character. They've gotten into it in Clone Wars and then some in Rebels, but I'd like some real hard known evidence and not evidence, that's not the right word, but actions that really represent that she's not good, but she's not bad either. She's not Jedi, she's not a Sith or the dark side. She truly is just a Force user in the middle.
Right. Awesome. Well, it's going to be a fun ride, and I'm glad this show's back, man. I know, even though they kind of fast-tracked season 2, feels like we haven't had it in forever, so it was a very pleasant surprise.
Even though they fast-tracked it, this episode didn't feel rushed or crammed with stuff. It still felt very methodically thought out, which was nice.
Yeah, the only thing I can think is like halfway through filming episode 1, well, in the first season, Lucasfilm must have been like, yeah, this is going to be a fucking hit. You need to already start on season 2.
Yeah.
All right, for the American hero, Nate Thurmond, and the mad scientist, Brian Banner, I'm the mayor, Jeff Hornacek, and we are the Bro Force Squad podcast. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. Catch our reviews on every episode of The Mandalorian Season 2. We'll be putting these out probably over the weekend as soon as we get a chance to all watch it. Check us out on our website, broforcesquad.com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, pretty much anywhere you subscribe to podcasts. If you type in Bro Force Squad as 3 separate words, and follow us on Twitter at Bro Force Squad. Till next time, we need to go take some shots of Spotchka.
Let's go.
Isn't that just like a melted Jello shot?
Basically,
Yeah,
but
kind of what it looked
like a space jungle juice.
Ooh, that sounds lovely.